let's go back to the Zoom machine and say hello to another newcomer to the program, the one and only Adrian Yanez, kind enough to join us. Adrian, how are you, my friend?
Man, I'm doing well. Just excited about the win and everything. And, man, thank you for having me on the show.
Yes, it's great to be here. Could I ask you, great to have you here, I should say. How is the ear? I was fixated by the ear, right? It kind of threw me off there. What are those things?
Yeah.
What's going on there? What are those things?
These are magnets, man. I had to drain my ear, and for it to not refill back up like how I did on Saturday, had to close it off with some magnets. But honestly, this literally took like an hour after I got back, because whenever they drained it in the UFC, they gave me like one little clamp, and it only was able to clamp so much that everything else started filling back up. So I had to be at home for about an hour just draining it with diabetic needles, and it was terrible. Yeah.
How much did it hurt?
Oh, it was hurting a lot. It was, man, it sucked. But, yeah, no, right now it's still in a painful process because the magnets are closing it up and it's starting to heal.
Oh, my God. So how long do you have to keep those on there for?
Man, I was actually talking to a couple people. Actually, Darren Wynn actually messaged me and be like, hey, 2 weeks, no contact, because it's going to blow right back up if you don't. So I'm like, damn it, I don't want to do that. But, yeah, so it looks like about a week, I'm probably going to have to, just for safekeeping, I'm probably going to keep these on.
Now, like, is it throbbing?
It actually was earlier. It was earlier, but I took the magnets off just for a second, but I put them back on, so it kind of calmed down. But no, like if they're on and if I actually just touch it, it'll start throbbing again.
Okay, and in the fight, was it hurting you?
No, actually, the funniest thing about it is that this actually happened within like the last minute of the fight.
Really?
And it just happened to be terrible timing. I shoulder rolled a little bit, and then he caught me at the ear, and that's whenever it blew up. I was like, damn it.
And that thing that they had on you, that clamp thingy there, that you had to do all the media with and all that, how long did you have to have that on there for?
I had it on for most of the night, but it was throbbing so bad that, like, with everything else around it, like with already filling it back up, I just said, screw it, and just took it off, and it eased the pain a lot. But yeah, it was just terrible. My ear just was so much bigger by the end of the night, but without it on. But I just was like, man, it hurts so much. I'm gonna have to drain it again. Either which way I look whatever way I look at it, I'm gonna have to drain it again, because everything else on the ear was already blowing back up. So I was like, man, screw it. I took the clamp off, and it felt a lot better, but it sucked having to be like using the needles for an hour just to drain all this out.
So another win in the UFC, another impressive performance. I don't know what that one judge thought, 30-27 for Davey, but it doesn't matter. You get the W. Not a finish, though. Your first fight that goes the distance. How'd you feel about it overall?
Honestly, yeah, that one judge, he came over for boxing, and I feel sorry for the boxers, man. I feel sorry for those guys, but no, I feel great. Like, Davey is a great opponent. He's never been finished like by a TKO or anything like that. So going like me, like it's not like it would have been better to get the finish. That would have been able to be like, oh man, I'm stating my case to be in the top 15 to face all these tougher guys. But at the same time, it's Davey Grant. You're not going to get the finish over that guy. But there's some things I need to clean up. I did get hit a little bit, so I got to clean a lot of this stuff up. But honestly, I feel really, really great about it.
I saw his face afterwards. In fact, you guys went for dinner? What was that? I saw a picture that you posted. He was at dinner with you, right? Or lunch, dinner, whatever it was?
Yeah, it was dinner. We actually ended up going out to dinner a little bit after. He was in message with my manager, so we ended up going to this Mexican spot to go eat and having a good time, man. And then they ended up since we got fight of the night, they tricked the waiters and said it was our birthday at the same time, so we both ended up getting birthday little flan cakes. So it was pretty cool.
I love that. But is that like you? I mean, I know when you had your last fight with Costa, you guys were buds. It seems like you kind of dig being buddies with your opponent. Like, you don't want any animosity.
Yeah, to me, honestly, it really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we're gonna have to fight in the cage. I don't care if you like me, man. If you want to be friends, that's even better. Because I tell my brother all the time, it's like, I like you, I love you, but I'll punch you in the face. I don't care. Throw $100 my way, I'll punch you in the face, man. But Yeah, I can like you and everything. You know, I got a lot of training partners that we spar. You know, I punch them in the face too. So it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter to me. Is if we're gonna get paid for it, we're gonna get paid for it. And it to me, like, it doesn't make me like not fight you a little bit harder than any, like, no, it's still the same motivation. I still have the same goals to be at the top. So if we're friends, we're friends. If we're not, hey, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool knocking you out, and you know being friends afterwards. After I knock you out.
When you're sitting at dinner, I know you weren't sitting side by side, but like, are you guys actually talking about the fight and replaying moments?
We didn't really talk too much about the fight. We're just kind of just like, man, that was a great fight. Like, that was a really great fight, man. Good stuff, man. We were just like kind of just like happy. Like, it was like just a happy. It was just kind of just happy. Honestly, we really didn't talk too much about the fight. Uh, I pretty much just told him, like, dude, look at what you did in my ear. Look what you did in my ear. And he was like, bro, my nose, like your jab. I was like, man, I don't know. I think I'd rather have the nose than the ear right now, because this right here, man, I had to be in that, like, draining my ears for hours. And while I was walking around in Vegas for a little bit, man, people were giving me looks like, what is that? Like, it
Yeah.
looked like another person was growing on the side of my head.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing that you guys can fight each other and then go out and do all that. And I'm happy to hear that the night ended on a positive note for you. We saw that you were very emotional after the fight. Obviously, you have been through a lot, my friend. Wow, you have been through a lot over the last few years. Most recently, the passing of your coach, the legend Saul Soliz. First fight week without him, right? First time he was not in your corner, correct? In your entire career?
He wasn't in my corner for the Randy Costa fight. Because that's when we found out that he had contracted COVID. Was actually the test for us to fly out to Vegas.
Wow.
And yeah, so I ended up, like, so if it wasn't for me fighting, we probably wouldn't have found out they had COVID. So it was like, that was, I don't know. At the time, whenever he took that test, I was just like, man, my coach is strong. He's gonna come through this. He's gonna be on the other side of this. And uh, yeah, and I wouldn't have thought that I would have showed up to this event with Davey not having my coach. And it really sucked. It really, really sucked. And yeah, it's been a really long training camp. It was a roller coaster of a training camp, just due to the fact that, like, I'm so used to seeing my coach there, so used to walking to the gym and just seeing Saul, and just seeing him, like, man, like, even like the little quirky jokes that he would make, or just the little advice that he would give, and just everything. I miss it. And this one was hard because, like, he wasn't there. He's been like my role model, and like, after my dad had passed away, like, he was like my father figure. So I in 2016 I lost my father, and this year I lost a father figure. So, like, it sucks, and it really brought me down. And that's another reason why I'm like kind of trying to take some time off right now after this fight, just to make sure I get, like, my mental health and everything else, and kind of just deal with everything. Because honestly, I still haven't dealt with it. Like, because right after everything happened, I ended up pretty much being coach for all these other fighters who had fights coming up, making sure that they were good, making sure everything was still running. And then I went to go corner my training partner Leo for his UFC fight. And then I had to corner all my other training partners for their upcoming fights for Fury Fighting Championship. And after that, I ended up getting booked for a fight. So I ended up putting myself in a camp and running my own camp for everything. And it was hard, because I had to switch the hats from being a fighter to a coach at times. And then on top of that, I'm having a baby on the way. So I'm having to worry about that stuff, buying a house, doing all this whole bunch of things. So, like, it's been like, just for, like, me to even deal with everything, I just kind of just, like, it's been hard. It's been hard to deal with.
You were obviously very emotional afterwards. Did you keep it all inside? Like, was that the release that you had been bottling up?
Oh, absolutely. I knew that was going to happen too. It just, the last, like, 30 seconds of that fight, like, I just was kind of just looking for time to kind of wind down a little bit, because I felt like I had won the fight, and I was just kind of just like, man, those last 30 seconds felt so long, because at that point in time I was just like, I was trying to avoid the just start kind of just because it was just in the back. It was in the back of my mind the whole entire fight. Just him not there. Every time I went to my corner, I always have conversations with my coach. It would never be like him just coaching me through it. I'd ask him a question, or we'd be having a back and forth conversation in the corners. And this time it was different, and it was just I had my training partners with me who've been with me through thick and thin, but it just wasn't the same. So the last 30 seconds, I was doing my best to just be just get through these 30 seconds, just 30 seconds. And after that, the bell rang, hugged Davey, and I wanted to walk around with my hands up, but I just sat down and just was just the doctor thought there was something wrong with me, but I just I just need a moment, man. I can't. I just couldn't hold it in anymore. It just all the emotions that I had it just fell out. I couldn't contain myself.
How was fight week?
Fight week was I kept busy, if that makes sense. But I ended up doing what my coach liked to do. He liked going to the strip, sitting at a table, and gambling. And I ended up picking up some of the stuff. I was playing a couple of gambling games, just kind of just that get out. And plus, I knew if I sat down, I wouldn't have and just did nothing and just try to focus on the fight. I wouldn't have focused. I would have been I wouldn't. It would have all just been hitting me even harder. So I kept myself busy throughout the week. But in the back of my mind, that's the one thing that I always that was keeping me. Whenever I was cutting weight, everything was just pouring. It was hard. It was a really hard week, but I was able to push through all of it.
Has someone assumed his role in your life? Do you have a new head coach, or is it just going to be you and your training partners?
Me and my training partners, as of now, I do have a strength and conditioning coach who's been who knows martial arts as well. But as far as the MMA fighters, I was already on the role of running the fighters camp itself. So pretty much that's where I'm going to be at. Pretty much I'm going to be coach and fighter. And honestly, I've seen it work so many times, with a lot of great fighters themselves, like James Krause, you have Uriah Faber, all those guys. They do a very well job. And also, at the same time, it's actually been beneficial for myself, because I had to put myself in their shoes and help them work on what they've been working on, what they need to work on. So it's been helping me out. And I feel like it's only leveled me up a lot. It's been helpful. So, but yeah, I do have somebody who I can go and confide to at times and just and just ask, because older person and strength conditioning coach, and Coach Phil, he's if I need to talk to somebody, he's the guy.
What made Saul such a special coach?
Man, it was everything. He didn't it's kind of hard just to pinpoint one thing. It's a lot. It's a mixture of a lot of things. He was so hands-on with everything. He didn't just he cared. He cared a lot. He cared so much too. He would sound mean in the practices, but once after the practice was over, he would give you that tough love type of deal. And it was and it felt good whenever he gave you the compliments, gave you hey, you did good today. And that made your whole month if he ever gave you a compliment. And then on top of that, he was just such a good person. He gave, after my dad passed away, he knew that I needed something. So he gave me a job. He hired me on as assistant. He made sure I was at the gym. He always made sure that I was doing the right things. He kind of did a lot of things for me. And not even just for myself. I ended up finding out after he had passed, so much of the other stuff that he did for other people, and it was just kind of just built in his character. And he was just a good person overall. And for me, he didn't have me pay any gym dues whenever I was coming up. From amateur to pro, he never made me pay a single dime in gym fees or coach fees or anything like that. And that says something, and I always took his time for I never took his time for granted. I always loved every second of it. He was just an amazing coach, because you didn't have to say, if you just said that you were having a problem, he would go out of his way to make sure he helped fix your problem without even you knowing at the time. And it was just a lot, because he was just a great person, man. A super great person.
A legend of mixed martial arts, highly regarded, and has coached some of the greatest fighters of all time, including yourself. And I'm sure he's very proud of your performance. I was reading your UFC.com bio, and in there you wrote that your job when you were signed to the UFC was you were a meter reader. You
Yeah,
were like one of those
yeah.
dudes that like would walk around and see if like you've paid your 25 cents? I hate those guys.
Oh, oh no, not those guys. I
Oh.
wasn't that guy.
Oh, okay.
No, but I'm the guy that people still hated to see me around. So I was a meter reader, but for water. So if you
Oh,
didn't pay your water bill, I was the guy shutting your water off and everything. So
damn.
they definitely didn't like me.
That's even worse. That's even worse than the $30 parking ticket. So you would go to people's houses and see? Is that how it works?
Oh yeah. No, at certain time of the month, like closer to the end of the month, if you didn't have your bill paid, we came around, cut your water off, and
Oh,
go about our merry way.
did you
Yeah,
feel
but
horrible about
it
that?
sucked. I always like everything else about that job was so fantastic except for that day.
Yeah.
That day was just terrible. I've had people come crying outside, running outside the house crying. I just man, I gave, even though I shouldn't be saying it now, I did give people a couple passes. Like if I did see them in a rough spot, I did turn a blind eye and just let them like keep the water and say that I turned them off and all that stuff. I know I can't be saying like, yeah, no, I shouldn't be saying that, but
Come on. I respect you for
yeah,
saying that. I respect you for doing that, man. Gotta have a
yeah,
heart.
and but like that was like a once every blue moon. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that every single time. Like I would want to because there's some families that really needed it, and but at the same time, I would walk by some of these houses that would have a bigger house than what I have, and just being like, bro, like you can't pay your water bill. Like what is going on here? But I don't know. There was a mixture of feelings that day, but I didn't like those days because it was just so much more work and just so much like it took a lot of time, and I just really didn't like that day. But on any other day, like people were so nice and just walking around. I had some really great employees. I had a great boss. My boss was actually like he was so lenient with me, and it was amazing. He was a great boss.
You don't still do that, right?
Oh no.
Okay.
I after my UFC debut, like I quit fight week of my debut.
Okay.
So I knew that I was going to be in a great position. I knew I had to jump in this full time right after that.
Your dad was a former was he a Golden Gloves boxer?
Yes, he was a Golden Gloves boxer, and then right after that, he joined the military.
Okay, so he's the one that got you into fighting.
Yeah, he got me into fighting. He was looking at I didn't really start training until I was 15, but that was jiu-jitsu at that time. I didn't do any striking or anything like that. Every once in a while, because my dad was like a blue collar guy working 12 hour a week, 12 hours a day a week. Yeah, 12-hour work days. Yeah, so pretty much like on the weekends, if he wasn't that tired, he would show us some boxing. But other than that, I started off with jiu-jitsu, but he pretty much gave me my love of like combat sports. I was a really big boxing fan back in the day, but now it's like I'm a really big fan of fighting still, even if I am the UFC. I am a very big UFC fan.
Did he try to push you towards a pro boxing career?
We at the times, like I think I was like 8, 9 years old. We were looking for boxing gyms and everything, but just at the time we couldn't find one that we liked. And also at the time, my dad was getting sober at that time, so it was kind of like a hard point. Like it was like hard at that time, but once we found like kickboxing, because what brought me into the MMA was there's kickboxing classes. And I only did that for a week, and then they took the kickboxing classes away, and then I pretty much just jumped over to jiu-jitsu. And like my dad saw that I had a love for the competition of jiu-jitsu, and then I finally jumped into my first MMA fight, and he was like, "If this is what you want to do, like it'd be great for you to do this," and that's exactly what I wanted to do. And but yeah, my love for boxing like kind of like translated over into like what I like to do for MMA, and pretty much that's like that was a good like meet in the middle for my dad.
A lot of debate. Who's the best boxer in MMA? Who's the best boxer in the UFC? Do we need to start talking about Adrian Yanez as well in that discussion?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It needs to be said. Like every time I see someone see those forums be put up or they make lists or anything like that, I'm always annoyed because I'm just like, I know I'm one of the best. I know I'm one of the best. I should be up there for sure. And it's not even like a lot of people look at the offensive stuff, and I'm just like, bro, like you got to look at the defensive side as well. You know, you got to be able to look at the defensive side, the footwork. There's a lot of things to look at, and I'm just kind of like, well, I know UFC has Zuffa boxing, so man, Dana White, let's put on some boxing gloves with a lot of these guys at the 135 division. Let's duke it out. I think that would actually be fun, like a little bit of fun thing that you can do with UFC fighters who haven't took like an MMA fight in a while. Be like, man, throw on some boxing gloves for Zuffa boxing and just have them duke it out. And I have a couple matchups that I would like to see, like for myself, you know?
Oh, I'm not sure if Zuffa boxing is much more than a T-shirt at this point, but it is a great idea. It reminds me of the old Brawl for All tournament that they had in WWE. Who would you like to box? Like if they set that up, who's your first opponent?
Oh man, there's a lot of guys, man. Of course, the champ Peter Yan, the interim champ Peter Yan. I would like to strap on the eights with him. It'd be fun. I would love it. Also, Cody Garbrandt, he has some great boxing as well. I would like to jump in there. Rob Font, Jose Aldo, of course, Sean O'Malley. I think he has some good striking. Who else has Oh yeah, Julio Arce. I know he just lost to Song Yadong, but he has some really great boxing, and also Song Yadong as well. Like they have some really great hands. I think just throw us in the tournament, and we all go out there and duke it out with the boxing gloves on. I think that'd be fun.
Speaking of the champ, Aljamain Sterling, you recently trained with him, right? Out in New York?
Oh yeah. I went out to New York and trained with those guys.
How did that come about because of your situation with your coach passing away, or had you been training with them in the past?
No, actually, when it was before all this stuff with Aljamain, before he pulled out, before the fight got pulled from, he actually pulled me in to kind of like see from a boxer from a boxer, boxing from a boxer, because he was getting ready for Peter Yan at the time, and he wanted somebody that was sort of similar, and he thought that I was pretty similar to Peter, so he flew me out. We got some work in, and then he ended up not fighting Peter due to the UFC doctors pulling him out. So, that's how that came about. He hit me up personally. Was like, hey, we want to come out, and I was like, for sure, man. Be able to see how a champ runs his camp. I think that'd be amazing.
What was the experience like?
It was great, man. Just honestly, my favorite part was the jiu-jitsu at not at Henzo's. It was at Sarah's BJJ's. Like just rolling with those guys. Those guys are monsters, and I really loved it. And then also, man, Ray Longo too, man. I love that. I love the energy of those guys in the gym. Just in both gyms, like high energy, like high, all those guys, like a lot of similar mentally focused guys, just in there, all ready just to keep going and get to work in. You got these people putting in extra work. I loved it. I love the environment. It's a place I definitely want to go back to.
Okay, I was just about to ask you, will you go back? So it sounds like you do want to go back.
Oh yeah, man. I love the energy. They have a lot of great guys up there, and then also too, man, Ray Longo. I don't know if it was destiny at this point, but on a Monday, whenever I first met Ray Longo, we talked a little bit, and then he pulled me off to the side and showed me the picture that he had with me and he had with himself and my coach Saul.
Oh wow!
And I was like, at that point I kind of had to pull myself away for a second because I almost started tearing up at that moment because it was like about a month after my coach had passed, and I was just like, it brought like, oh man, it was emotional for me. But just the fact that I was like, man, it was super emotional. But just I thought that was somewhat like destiny type of deal.
You mentioned your father, who unfortunately passed away back in 2016, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
You found out that he was sick around the time of your birthday, which is around this time, right? Like Thanksgiving time?
Yes. Yeah.
That picture sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it was crazy because we went to go pick up some turkey at so every year we're keeping the tradition alive still is Mike Trin. He owns Mike Seafood down here in Houston, and he would make us some deep fried turkeys. And that morning, pretty much like we're hanging out with them. They're deep frying the turkeys and everything, and everything seemed great at that time. And then later on during that day, my mom ended up rushing my dad to the ER because the doctor called with my dad's blood test results and just said he needed to be in the ER at like as soon as possible, like now. And I was already at my family's at the time, and I get the call from my mom, and that's when we show up. And a couple of days passed, and then I remember I went out to eat with my cousin because he showed up from West Texas, and we took him out. He took me out to eat because it was my birthday, and I come back and pretty much that's when I walked into the news about my father. So I was like, it sucked. I still don't like this time, around this time I get very shut off. I don't really it gets hard for me.
Yeah, no, I could totally understand that. The picture that you showed, that you shared with us after you won Contender Series and you got the contract and you brought the contract to his gravesite. I mean, I can't imagine what that was like. It was emotional just to see you talk about your father on the show and then to see that photo. Could you share what that day was like? Because it seemed to me like you wanted to show him that you made a promise and you kept your promise, right? That you were going to make it to the UFC.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We would always talk about it, and we would always talk about because my dad would always take me to my night sessions, to my night session training, and because he would work all day, and I don't even know how he would do it, how he had enough energy to do it, but he showed up to almost all my training sessions at night, and we'd always talk about me getting into the UFC, and he never told me I couldn't do it, and it was like it was just nice that like because I hear a lot of other parents, a lot of like whenever I hear stories about these other parents and like not being as good as my dad, I'm just like, I think my dad's like the perfect role model. My mom's the perfect role model, and like my coach was the perfect role model and all that. And just whenever I like kind of hear and see other parents kind of just like, I think you should do this instead of letting their kids chase their dreams. And my dad was one of the ones that always told me, he's like, you need to chase your dreams. Like I never got to live my dream because most of his friends ended up passing away because of where he was at. And he just always had that what if in his head. And he's like, I'd never want my kids to have that what if. So he always pushed us to follow our dreams. And my dad always told me, he's like, if there's a will, there's a way. You keep going no matter what. And don't quit. If just because it gets hard, you don't quit. And that's pretty much how my training camp was for that fight. Like COVID shut down our gym. We were training in a garage. We were training in a warehouse in the back of a t-shirt company. And like we didn't quit, Saul made it happen for us. And after that, like after I got the contract and I just knew there's one place I wanted to take it, and that was to go see my dad. And it just the sense of like relief that I got once I got there. I didn't know they took a picture either too. Like I just wanted my moment, and they got a picture of me while I was there, and yeah, it felt good. Like man, like you believed in me, and that's all that I needed. And like the people that really matter believed in me, and that's why I'm here. And and now it's to the point where I need to believe in myself so I know I can get to that title. And they always saw this in me. My dad always saw this in me. My dad always knew I was going to be in the UFC. My dad knows I'm going to be a champion. Like my coach Saul knows I'm going to be a champ. It's just me doing what I do and putting in the work and me believing in myself. And that's what I need to do, because it is hard. It is hard at this point. And it kind of does like make me like, it makes me feel good, but also it kind of sucks because the couple people that I wish like to be like to tell all this stuff to right now, like telling all these good things that are happening to me right now. I want to be able to tell them, but I can't because they're not here. Like, man, I just bought a house. I just bought a house with just due to fighting. I got a family. I don't have a job. I'm having a family in December, like all this stuff, and I can't like tell them, and it sucks. Like then the people who I would the people who want to go run and tell to all these great things that are happening, and I can't.
I feel so you're having a kid. First
Yeah,
one.
December. First one.
Boy or girl?
Boy, he's gonna be a junior.
Oh, wow. That is amazing, man. That is amazing.
Yeah, I'm super excited, man. Super excited. I get to be to my kid what my dad was to me, and that like really like it excites me.
If one day your son says he wants to be a fighter like you, like your dad, would you be okay with that?
Man, that's kind of hard. That's really hard. Of course, I'm gonna be trying to steer my kid into these other sports, like maybe like soccer or baseball or all these other things where they get paid so much more. But if he really wanted to fight, I would probably just be like, let's do jiu-jitsu or wrestling. Let's avoid the boxing for now until later. But yeah, I would be kind of hesitant on it just because I know what the sport entails. But if he had this undying, relentless, like I want to fight type of deal, I would let him.
And perhaps next is Sean O'Malley if he wins.
Oh yeah, he got Paeva in front of him. Yeah, that'd be a nice fight in front of me. Like I would definitely love that fight. Just because it's Sean O'Malley, he kind of almost like he gets the most noise out of this division. And like sometimes it's almost like a better consolation prize than fighting for the title because you got someone in front of you like Sean O'Malley who at times brings even more eyes than the people at the top. So yeah, of course that would be fun.
Are you impressed with his boxing? You didn't. I don't think you mentioned his name when you were talking about the.
Oh yeah, he has really good striking, but yeah, his hands they're good. I just think if we strap on the eights, I definitely put him to sleep.
Adrian, we're not supposed to root for people in this job, in this chair. I'm rooting for you, my man. Honestly, I'm rooting for you. I wish you nothing but the best. I want to give you a hug. You're making me all emotional. Your story is unbelievable, and you are a true role model for people who have been through a lot. And even on Saturday, you were talking about mental health and taking some time. I hope you can take some time now around the holidays and after everything you've done. But I can't imagine anyone not rooting for you, not liking you, not wanting to see you one day hold that belt because you have earned it, my friend. You have earned it right now, and you still have so much more to do. So I just wish you the best, continued success. I know there's a ton of people who are behind you, and I'd get hit up a lot over the last few weeks for people, telling me to have you on the show, and they were all right. You should have been on the show a long time ago. So I'm just really happy that you came on today, and congrats on the win, and congrats on everything, and congrats on the baby in December. That's going to be incredible.
And thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon, Adrian. All the best.
Thank you.
All right, there he is, Adrian Yanez. Whew.